Hey, critics, and welcome back to the Critic Chronicles YouTube channel where you get commentary reviews and tabloid news. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Now, I must pay homage to my forever First Lady Michelle Obama, who graced the cover of the November 10th issue of People magazine looking radiant and free of First Lady responsibilities. Good for you, sis. Good for you. The cover reads, "Free to be me, First Lady." She's basically opening up about embracing her 60s, date nights with Barack, and her new lease on life, quoting, "This is the first time every decision I make is for me." Now, in an article that she did from the critics over at slate.com, they explain the First Lady's post White House years, and I will agree. They basically say that she levied her popularity for personal enrichment and also cultural clout rather than any political ends. Now, I don't know why they use the word clout. I wouldn't say and cultural clout. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like basically the influence that she had in the cultural world. I think I would have phrased it like that. And although there have been, of course, some polls that shows the population desiring the first lady to continue in politics, I think it's pretty clear that living free is where she wants to be. Her latest book, The Look, is a book that cements her status as a self improvement icon and influencer with little interest in the state of our union. Tell us about it, child. If we didn't have to pay attention, I mean, I think some of us would block it out even more. But if you're on the internet in any way, you can't help but to see the chaos that's going on right now in the White House. It's described in terms of the book, going back to Michelle Obama, it's described as a coffee table book and is a photo rich dive into how Obama found her style as the first lady. It explores fashion moments of Michelle's time in the public eye, sharing with us the havoc that it can wreak on one's sense of self to have to do things based off the event, the day, and be a role model to the public at the same time. Now, I like that Michelle told us the truth that there was basically some personal life cleaning up she had to do once they entered the White House. It was important to Michelle, especially being the first black family in the White House, that the public seen a joyful black family being celebrated as models of grace and class while unabashedly embracing black culture. It was a meaningful milestone for scores of Americans. So I completely understand, Michelle. Thank you for really taking that into consideration. When she stopped by Sherry Shepherd, or the Sherry Shepherd show, excuse me, she talked about growing up on the south side of Chicago. She had the first baby. Sherry had the first lady stepping, dancing, and continuing to speak, of course, about marriage. Now, I gotta say, on a side note, speaking of fashion, I loved the dress that you wore on the Sherry Shepherd show. It's really one of those dresses that really made me think more of spring than fall. Right now, you think of fall colors, you're thinking like pumpkin colors, the oranges, the deep reds, the, browns, the colors like that. But she wore a bright color. She wore a pink dress to the Sherry Shepherd show. And when asked what the secret was in terms of marriage, she said the secret is basically not giving up, sticking it out. If you follow Mrs. Michelle Obama, the first lady, forever, ever, forever, ever, you know that she's talked about marriage in a very honest and transparent way before. I think she had made a comment at one point in time saying that if you've been married for 30 years and 10 of those years were bad, then you actually have a pretty good marriage, right? She even admitted that having children can drain the life out of a marriage if you let it. Now, she also shared that one of the reasons why she didn't speak out about fashion in the White House, because of course I had the privilege of seeing the Obamas in the White House. I loved the fashion that Michelle did while she was there, and I was a little kind of like, I wonder why she don't speak out more about her fashion choices. And she also would repeat dresses, like she would repeat outfits and showcase to us that, child, they're on a budget too, even though they are in the White House. Now, she said that one of the reasons why she didn't speak out about her fashion was because she feared that it would be a distraction. But she reminded us that the fashion industry was built on the backs of immigrants. She also talked hair, which I will honestly tell y'all, I have never thought about hair like that until I was working in a education setting and a student came to me and she said, "Hey, I have this interview I'm going to be going. Should I wear my hair like this? And I was just like, really? I never thought about that. In fact, the job that I was currently in was a job where when I had the interview, I wore braids. So I had never really thought about how should I wear my hair to an interview in terms of as it relates to culture. Now, I do want my hair to look good wherever I go, right? So yes, I've been thinking, okay, what am I going to wear my hair like? When am I going to get it done? Will I have time to make sure that I'm on time for my, like, whatever it was in terms of the hairstyle? Yes, but I never thought to myself, if I wear braids to this interview, am I not going to get the job, right? But when a student came to me, talked to me about that, that's when I really was a little bit more aware of that. And obviously, Michelle, she wasn't tone deaf to it, and how folks see our hair is really this very interesting thing, when to us it's just the way we enjoy our styles. One of the things that I absolutely love about the 4C hair that I have is the fact that I have so many options. And I'm gonna be transparent with you and say I like the fact that everybody can't do our hair. I like the fact that we're very unique, not in just that way, but in such an intimate way that other people have to have our hair to relate. That's why when I see a lot of my Dominicanas, specifically my Afro Latinas, whose roots look like mine and the color of your skin is just as rich and deep as my chocolate, honey, we are way more related than what you think, even though I know you speak a different language. But we won't talk about that right now. But yeah, Michelle Obama was talking about hair and not wearing braids in the White House because she didn't want it to be this talk in the media. I guess there was a time that she had bangs, or she had this hairstyle and she introduced bangs, and I guess they made this big deal out of it. Well, I guess she determined that if they make a big deal out of my bangs, just imagine what they would say if I had braids. Now, I wish she would have made it a conversation piece. If you ask me, I think she should have wore braids in the White House, but you know what? That's my opinion. I truly respect, though, the way that Michelle handled herself in the White House and the way that she put the culture and representation first. And not all leaders do that. Please tell those folks that's up in the house of the Lord to do that. What Michelle did, in my opinion, the way she described it, that is true leadership. She talks about how young people led the way as well, and how she basically also learned from their experiences. And while she was in the White House, many of those folks that helped her with style, her hair, all of the things, she said those were young people who came to her early. Like they were in their 20s while she was, I believe, 45 when President Obama was elected into the White House. But you can check out the interview that she actually did with Sherri Shepherd on the Sherri Shepherd YouTube channel. Another side note, Michelle also did a popular interview with The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, where she spoke more about like the political side. So if you're interested to know like more about the White House, even though if you read her book Becoming, if you read her second book as well, if you also, I'm sure, read the newest book that she has, I've just had the other two books. So it's Becoming and then The Light We Carry. Those are the two books that also, in my opinion, go into detail about her experience in the White House, specifically the first one. But if you want to know even more and you want a continuation of that conversation, I believe her Stephen Colbert interview really gives more insight to the White House. And the fact that she had made this comment that when it comes to Barack, he's still out there fighting for democracy. I don't know why I thought that was so funny when she made that comment. But you can check out that interview as well on Colbert's YouTube channel, titled Michelle Obama on Sending a Message with Fashion and Living in the People's House, which she said she never felt like it was her house, right? Because it was the White House. Whose house? Okay, Obama's house. All right. I like that show. Shout out to Run's house. Side note. And I had the privilege of participating, y'all, in this outreach program during the time that Michelle Obama was actually in the White House. It was a campaign that I did in northern Florida. We traveled to about 13 elementary schools. We hosted this play called Cooking It, where we basically promoted healthy eating and the importance of healthy living. And while we're on fashion, I wasn't going to add this before, but I might as well, y'all. Let's go black on the inside of Us Weekly's November 17th issue, where on page 20, Doja Cat, she's channeling Tina Turner's character in the 1985's Mad Max Beyond Thunderstorm while performing her song Gorgeous. And Angela Bassett, she reprised her Black Panther role as Queen Ramonda to highlight the designs of industry icon Ruth E. Carter. Meghan Markle is on page 22. She's showing off her scandalous style, which is compared to the famous Olivia Pope, played by the none other than Kerry Washington. And of course, from the Burberry cape coat to the Balenciaga show in Paris last month to her red carpet style back in 2022 with the Dior hat by Stephen Jones, it does look like they were able to capture about 6 or 7 times that, yeah, Meghan Markle was definitely channeling her Olivia Pope. And speaking of relationships and marriage, congratulations to Magic Johnson and his wife, Cookie Johnson, who continue to keep the spark in their marriage, celebrating nearly 50 years of feeling the love on page 27 of the magazine. Magic is quoted saying that Cookie is his best friend, not just his wife, but also his friend. They are everything rolled into one, including business partners as well. He also praises her for being a caretaker and just taking care of the kids, the grandchildren, and all of the friends. Cookie says that she fell in love with Magic because he's a gentleman. He's a hard worker. He was raised right, and he spoils me rotten. Girl, I know that's right. Okay. And somebody I hadn't heard from actually in a little while, Hollywood little while, okay? Tiffany Haddish, well, she's reintroducing herself on page 34. She's starring apparently in a brand new docuseries. Tiffany Haddish Goes Off, where she is boundlessly curious, fiercely independent, and not at all concerned with what you think of her. I never really thought you cared about what we thought of you, Tiffany. Like you are one of them women who you have a you live in a world of your own. I believe that you definitely can do that. You go, girl. Her new docuseries is described as a girls trip inspired delight that follows the comedian who also executive produces and 3 of her closest friends. They actually go on a month-long trip to South Africa, Zimbabwe, as well as Tanzania. Why did you go to West? Why did you go to South Africa? That's one of my questions. Why didn't you go to West Africa? Now, I don't know what Zimbabwe as well as Tanzania is, but I know South Africa, according to Trevor Noah, they still have a whole lot of stuff as it relates to like the apartheid and, all of the things. So I would be interested to know why you chose South Africa. I don't think I missed that in the article, but in the article, she also talks about why she rewarded her friends with this trip. These are basically friends that she's been friends with for a very long time. And so she wanted to treat them to an African adventure. And as always, you will discover some TMI moments in the interview ending on page 41, reminding us that there is a girls trip too in the works. And I guess Tiffany said they're supposed to start filming in the spring. Yeah, so I'm excited about that. Tiffany is currently on the road for Tiffany Haddish, the Funny and Fearless tour, and set to star in multiple films, including an action comedy double crossed opposite Isla Fisher, an LSD road trip comedy called Toad with Craig Robinson, Christopher Maloney, as well as James Franco, and much more. Well, congratulations, Tiffany. See, I know that that major incident that happened that was caught on video, I didn't even watch it. I didn't watch it because I don't want to see nothing like that personally. You've been given some grace, so I hope you learn from that. Speaking of learning, let's go ahead and move forward to talk real quick about Cheryl Lee Ralph and her secret to sleeping well. She says that her secret to sleeplessness is don't lay down in the bed and get up, and do something, right? So if you can't sleep, don't just lay in the bed, get up, go do something. And she specifically does box breathing, which is a relaxation method that involves inhaling slowly for 4 seconds, holding it for 4, and exhaling for 4, and then holding it again for 4. So apparently that works. And according to all of the science data stuff, that actually, in terms of meditation, that's one of the best ways in order to sort of escape the real world. If I remember the Tina Turner movie, of course, What's Love Got to Do with It, where that was her escape as well. She had a meditation method where she was doing the Nam Yo Ho Renge Kyo, Nam Yo Ho Renge Kyo, Nam Yo Ho Renge Kyo. Now that's when I was really first introduced to like a meditation style method. And I know that there's a religion that goes along with that, but in terms of that meditation that she did, that was the first time I personally had known or heard. Nobody around me at the time had spoken about anything as it relates to medication. Meditation. But interesting things that we learned from movies, right? What's love got to do with it? Got to do with it. And Cardi B is another one that kind of talked about ASMR. She says that ASMR, she's another one that talked about what she does when it comes to helping her sleep. She says she actually goes to ASMR to help her, and studies have shown that ASMR can positively affect your sleep. Well, who would have known? And finally, let's talk Brandy. Now, I missed the news cycle when Brandy left the stage at the Chicago show with her and Monica on their tour. And then Monica, I believe, had to close out the show. Well, I got to remind y'all. Well, I had to remind y'all of that. I hated to have to remind you of it, but I did. Your fans was pissed off, Brandy. Now, you released some receipts that still sound sketchy to some. However, it was enough to keep the money rolling from the concerts. But luckily, it was just dehydration. Okay. And that's a good thing because you're back in full effect. And you're also coming out with a movie. Brandy is on page 57 of Us Weekly with her daughter, Sarai Smith, promoting their Lifetime film, Diva Demands Christmas Every Day. Now, in the flick, the two play sisters. The younger one is played by her daughter, who is a bridezilla, and the elder, who's played by Brandy, is trying to keep it together and may get an assist from a hot contractor. It's always a love interest. Shout out to Lifetime for giving us all of the love, okay? I love it. And I spoke about this in the previous episode where I was talking about how Terry McMillan has, in my opinion, truly I think she got something going here with the Terry McMillan films that she has with the Lifetime partnership. I don't want that to stop at all. In fact, I believe that Terry McMillan has so many stories in her that she can have her own television network as well. So with that being said, you can catch that on Lifetime, Diva Demands Christmas Every Day, featuring not only Brandy, but also her daughter as well, where they play sisters. The film is set to premiere on Lifetime November the 29th. So y'all be on the lookout for that. And as a reminder, here at the Critic Chronicles, our goal is to provide quality but juicy content from websites, digital magazines, and tabloids, most of which are sourced from our public library. Research from the National Library of Medicine show that there are an estimated 17,000 public libraries nationwide, totaling 4 million visits each day. Public libraries are civic organizations that are committed to providing invaluable resources beyond books that are free and open to the public. Get your library card to access thousands of resources today. Thank you again for tuning in to the Critic Chronicles YouTube channel, where you get commentary, reviews, and tabloid news. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.